Now, deadlines come and go, but the British shopper carries on regardless. That, on the face of it, appears to be what the official retail sales data seems to suggest. Now, you'll remember by March, Britain was supposed to have left the EU. Businesses are stockpiling and were braced for exit. So why have sales risen, or retail sales risen, the most in nearly 2.5 years? Well, let's put that question to Natalie Berg, the founder of NBK Retail. Now, last time we saw numbers this disrupted from the norm, it was the beast from the east. So why has the beast of Brexit not had the same impact?
Yes, Victoria, it was an unexpectedly strong month for the retail sector. But as you say, we have to take into account the soft comparative figures. Last March was a dreadful time for retailers. They were battling extreme weather conditions. We had the beast from the east, and shoppers were, sitting on their sofas and shunning the high streets. We also have to take into account the timing of Easter, which would have distorted the figures slightly. But once you adjust the data for seasonality, what we're seeing is a very resilient consumer. A consumer that is still spending despite the broader political uncertainty. And I think that really comes down to the fact that economic conditions remain favorable for consumers. We have low interest rates, low unemployment, low inflation, and we're finally seeing meaningful improvements in wage growth. The fact that wages are growing faster than inflation really means that the consumer is feeling bullish about their ability to spend, and I think that's reflected in the figures today.
Yeah, it's interesting you pick up on that. So the economy since the referendum has been powered by consumer spending, hasn't it? As businesses have invested less, and as austerity really has continued. So, what happens next to this picture? Do you think the consumer can carry on powering the British economy?
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting is when you look at the retail sales figures released by the British Retail Consortium earlier this month, what they called out was the fact that consumers seem to be delaying spending on big ticket items. So, home appliances, furniture, those types of things. So I think there is an element of caution amongst consumers. But if you speak to the bosses of some of the big brands on the high street like Next or Tesco, what they're saying is that consumers are fatigued by Brexit and the political uncertainty, but it hasn't altered their spending habits yet.
Okay, thanks very much, Natalie. Have a good Easter. Thanks.